The Raven's Promise, a secret hidden in the tower, long before tourists filled the cobbled paths of the Tower of London. An old raven watched silently from the highest stone wall. The guards believed he was just another bird, but the oldest keeper whispered a different story. "Never mock the ravens," he would say. "They remember everything." One cold winter evening in 1674, a young apprentice named Thomas arrived at the tower. His job was simple: light the lanterns before sunset and extinguish them at dawn. But on his very first night, he noticed something strange. Every evening, as the final rays of sunlight disappeared, 7 ravens gathered on the White Tower. They never cawed, they never fought. They simply stared toward an ancient doorway sealed with weathered stone. The older guards refused to speak about it. Curiosity soon overcame fear. One misty night, Thomas followed the ravens. As the great bell struck midnight, the birds flew silently to the forgotten doorway. Suddenly, the oldest raven tapped 3 times on the stone with its beak. To Thomas's astonishment, a hidden passage slowly opened. Torch in hand, he stepped inside. The narrow tunnel smelled of damp earth and centuries of silence. Ancient Norman carvings covered the wall's crowns, swords, and strange symbols no one could explain. Deep beneath the tower, Thomas discovered a forgotten chamber. Inside stood an old wooden chest covered in dust. As he lifted the lid, he expected gold or jewels. Instead, he found dozens of handwritten letters. They were final messages from prisoners who had never returned home. Some were written by noblemen, some by soldiers, others by ordinary people whose names history had forgotten. Each letter ended with hope. Hope that someone, someday, would remember them. As Thomas gently placed the letters back into the chest, he heard soft footsteps behind him. Turning slowly, he saw only the old raven watching from the darkness. Its black eyes reflected the flickering flame. Then, without making a sound, the bird flew toward the tunnel entrance. Thomas understood. The treasure of the tower was never its jewels. It was its stories. The next morning, he returned to the chamber. The hidden doorway had vanished. No tunnel, no chest, only a solid stone wall. When he asked the Raven Master about it, the old man smiled quietly. The tower reveals its secrets only to those willing to listen. Years later, Thomas became the tower's oldest keeper. Every evening, visitors would ask why the ravens never left. He would simply look toward the ancient walls and reply, "Because they are keeping England's memories alive." And as darkness settled over London, 7 black ravens would once again gather upon the tower, watching patiently, waiting for the next soul ready to hear their story. Some treasures are made of gold. The greatest treasures are the stories that refuse to die.